Hello, and welcome to the Care & Co podcast, where we bring the important conversations within the healthcare industry to the forefront. My name is Dimpho Baguley. I'm the brand and marketing manager of Mega Nursing and Care. And if you didn't know it already, Mega Care specializes in domiciliary care within the Midlands and beyond. Today we've got a very special conversation ready for you. I hope that you're ready to listen in. We are focusing on the women in care. So I've got some special guests, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce them. I'm going to start with you, Meg. So, Margeret Lawal, you are the CEO of Mega Resources. I'm just going to pull up your CV if you don't mind. So, you have a Master's in Advanced Practice, a BSc in Palliative Care, a BSc in Nursing, and certifications as an Advanced Practitioner and Independent Prescriber. It's quite a mouthful, isn't it?
Correct, yes.
And you've got experience in the field, don't you?
I do. I would say 35 years practicing now. If you add my training, you should be 39 years.
Incredible. So you've really put your heart and soul into this industry.
I have, yes. I love nursing. I just love to look after people.
Incredible. Beautiful. And then next, of course, we've got Nicola, well known to us as Nick, so Nicola Reynolds. You are our field manager at the Northamptonshire office, is that correct?
Yep.
Can you please tell us a little bit more about your role?
It's a role that delves into everything from the very start of somebody's recruitment. I've started to look a little bit further into the recruitment side of things so I can learn the process, to supporting the carers in the field, to working alongside clients and my colleagues. There isn't anything that we don't kind of look into and work as.
Brilliant. I think you did mention that you are a mental health first aider.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It means that there is mental health support for our staff, and it's not recognised as though they all need it, but I feel confident approaching them if we've had a service user that has passed away. It's our duty of care to make sure that we monitor our staff and that they're okay and that they feel as though they can approach somebody if they're struggling with their mental health. It might not be anything to do with work. It might be that they've got something going on at home or they've lost a family member. I feel confident going to them and being able to signpost them to the correct support, which that gives me a lot of peace in terms of knowing that we can look after everybody.
Brilliant. I'd like to get more into that in a second. For now, Ella Maynard, you are a care manager at our Bedfordshire office, is that correct? How do you find that, and can you please tell us more about your role?
It's very, very busy. I transferred from Northamptonshire, where we typically had larger hours but less demand on the care that we're delivering. Now that I've transferred over to Bedford, it's very, very demanding. We've got huge amounts of staff in the field that are delivering 30 to an hour's care each day. We have typically nearly 30 to 40 runs per day that we're managing, where you've got the support of the carers that you're providing the care for, the clients. You have to manage everyone in this role. You've also got the office staff that can be that look at you for emotional support. So you're supporting absolutely everyone, not just the service users that we're delivering care for.
Great. Okay. I think one important thing about the care industry that people may not realize is how wide it spans. Like, we've got our carers in the field, but there's a whole office staff behind creating operations, systems, putting their heart and soul into just creating a service that is reliable. So Meg, I'd like to tap into essentially your background. Can you please share with us just a moment or a story that has stuck with you from your early days that still sits with you today?
Do you mean the early days of a company or the early days of my...
Of your career. Let's say your career.
Okay. I remember once I worked in the hospital and I was going through a meeting. I was managerial level at that point, and I had my uniforms on, I had my folders on, I was going to do a presentation. I walked through the reception and there was this young man, I would say young because he was in his late 40s, and he'd had a procedure, and he'd been incontinent of visits all over the front of the reception. There was quite a few of the lower bands, nurses and healthcare assistants, and that passed beside him and just walked away and thought, oh, I'm on break, oh, I can't be doing this, I'm not wearing, and they just found a way to walk away from him. Plus, I'm not an angel, but I couldn't. I just couldn't. I put my folder down, put my laptop down, and did help him to get cleaned up in a nearby toilet service, and got dashed into a ward and got him new clothes and everything. The reason it resonates with me all the time is the fact that is one of the times you ascertain to yourself that you're actually called to look after people. Because I could easily have tried to dodge it as well, or found someone else to do it. And while I'm doing that, I've kept him out there, embarrassed, mentally, low, feeling, very, very down. But I'm very, very happy that I was able to help him at that point. And it went far because I couldn't attend the meeting because I had it all over me. But then, it was more of why did you decide to become a nurse? I could have become anything else, but it's more of a confirmation to me that it's not just a case of everyone's going to the nursing school, and it's about what I actually am made to do, basically. So yeah, it does. It sticks to me.
I'm with you. Since having joined the company, I feel like I've gained a better grip, seeing that this is definitely a calling. In terms of people who work with, especially when they work with other people, you have to have a certain level of humanity to give someone back their dignity and help them back on their feet, whatever that looks like. Nick, do you have any experiences where you felt that you've essentially helped give someone back their dignity? Just a moment of pride of, this is it.
I have a lot of experiences, and I think the ones that sit with me most are the challenging, the ones that not necessarily will accept care, and it could be for a multitude of reasons, and I thrive on finding out what that reason is and getting down to the crux of what's going on with this person and how we can adapt to almost allow them to allow us into their life, because it's okay saying, oh, you're going to have carers, they're going to come along, they're going to be really helpful. Not everybody wants that, and they feel as though their dignity is being taken because of that. So it's about maybe presenting it in a different way, maybe doing things slightly different, coming down on their terms, because that is the most challenging part, is that people feel as though if now they're having carers, they lose their independence, and there's a lot that goes along with that. We have to remember that somebody with dementia never intended to have dementia. They never intended to things become forgetful and potentially put themselves at risk in life. That was never what they perceived when they got older. So it's okay to feel like that, but we need to consider that that's at the back of their mind all the time, that that's not what they wanted for themselves. So we need to be that positive person in their life and accommodate them how they're willing to be involved and how they would like our carers to go in. So there is many circumstances like that, but I do feel as though that's where I thrive, because it's important to them and we want to be able to help keep them safe.
Absolutely. It sounds like there is a connection between let's say for a very specific example, mega care as a whole, the service user, and then of course there's a whole middle section of the family of the service user.
Sure.
So I'd love to tap into that. So Ella, do you have, or can you give us insight into what that I mean, the more people you add into a stream of assistance, of whatever the system is, surely can add some difficulty. So I would love to hear from you, like what role does the family of service users play? Because they've got a voice too. They have preferences, and maybe they've set up their loved one to be cared for, but maybe that's not what the loved one wants. What does that look like?
Yeah, so it's difficult because obviously every family member is different. Some people that come into the service are new to the service. They're not sure about the larger scale of stuff, like dealing with other professionals, what to do if they can't kind of manage their medication. Do they need to get a dossier box? How do they get a dossier box? So being that support from our point of view and being able to tell the family it's great on our behalf. But then also you can experience it from different points of view, where actually some of the conversations that happen within that family at that time about whether they need a DNAR in place can be quite emotional for the family members. They don't want to talk about it, they don't want to be involved with it, or they might really want to be involved with it. But at the end of the day, you then have to kind of convert back to the conversation of, we are then their support network. As soon as if that family member passes away, they're looking at us for that emotional guidance. And it's not just us as managers, it's the carers, because they're going into the property, and they're there at first-hand support. So it's kind of giving that guidance to the carers as well of how to manage and kind of approach conversations with them individuals, because a lot of the time it is harder for the family, and they do go through difficult situations. So
Okay, I hear you. I think that makes me think about legal. So Meg, I'd love to hear from you. What does the legal scape of being a care provider look like? Is there any, because I mean, DNRs, there's so much paperwork. If a person has dementia, like there's so many moving parts. What does the legal aspect of things look like?
Well, there's a lot of guidelines on the pine and home care or delivery of care itself. What we do is to tap into mainly CQC guidelines and the NICE guidelines, National Institute of Clinical Excellence.
What is CQC?
Care Quality Commission. And what we do is to look at the how do I say it? Already stated guidelines that we would adapt into so that we don't go or step out of our own. There's guidelines for everything, every single thing that you do in care. There is an already prescribed guideline for it. Now, for example, the Mental Capacity Act. It's an act in itself, and we work according to the act. We make sure that we adapt all our policies and procedure within that act when it comes to mental capacity. So, which means that you're not taking over from someone because you feel like it or because you think you know better. What you're doing is working with them within their mental capacity to achieve independence and support them with what they cannot do, that they agreed that we do with them. For everything, like taking the mental capacity is one of the guidelines or one of the acts. For everything that you do for someone, you need to assess their mental capacity for that task. Which means that you really can't say, oh yeah, he's done mental capacity for personal care and so we can't take his medication by himself. It's possible that he might not be capable of doing his personal care independently, but he's still able to look after himself when it comes to medication administration. So that's why you do mental capacity assessment for everything, every single thing. And to determine somebody's mental capacity comes with a process. That's where the guideline comes. And we work according to the guidelines, which will involve us and other multidisciplinary team that is involved in the care of that person himself or herself. And probably the power of attorney, next the key, so that we all have a structured plan. Once we can draw a good structured plan, support plan, or care plan for an individual within the framework of the law, you would stay within the law.
Brilliant. Nick, do you have any thoughts around that?
Mainly a little bit of prompting. No, not really. I think when it comes to the framework itself, it's about being able to ensure that our staff have the understanding. So although when it comes to training, people are like, oh, training again, but there's things that are forever changing to be the best it can be. And we're constantly learning, and I think it's to empower our staff to be able to provide the best care possible. That training is a must, and I feel as though we've all been out in the field, we've all put gloves on, mask and penny, and we know how difficult it can be out for the staff and the challenges they face. And I think it's so important to be able to understand that, for everything to go round in full circle, because that training comes in place and the training comes from the framework, and we empower the staff, which then they're able to provide the best possible care. And that's why I think it's so crucial, isn't it, to be able to keep our knowledge and our skills up to date, so that we can support the staff and we can give sometimes that straight yes or no answer, and that the education behind it as well, why we're not doing this and why we are doing this, and to be able to make best interest decisions for clients is, they need to be able to feel confident to do so. So that comes from the Mental Capacity Act. That then comes from a process that we've put in place, and then we will then make best interest decisions. And the staff are all very aware that if somebody lacks capacity, they can make a best interest decision. But it's very important that the best interest decision is always in their best interest. So yeah, there is a process. It all comes from the framework. It all follows down the line, and for us to be able to provide a high standard of care, that is a necessity.
I mean, it sounds like there are a lot of moving parts. So how does the company ensure that it is up to date? I mean, if government decides to roll a new requirement or whatever the case is, with so many different people doing different things, how does Megacare ensure that we are up to date, or that we know exactly what's going on, what we need to do, how we may need to upskill? You're welcome to say from the perspective of carers or even within office.
So we do have the CQC, and so the CQC is our framework, and we also work collaboratively with local authorities, and it is a case of ensuring that training is up to date. If there is any changes, we go to the NICE guidelines. There's so many aspects that we can dip into. We're quite lucky that we have really good relationships with our local authority and CQC. Sometimes them relationships can become a little bit murky, but we're very, very lucky we have got good relationships, and we can ask questions, because we're always learning. Every one of us, it's changing every day. So to say, I'm not sure about this, can you brief me on it? Is there some guidance you can send me? Shows that, we're willing to learn. It's when you're not willing to learn that it becomes a problem. So, yeah.
We have a whole team that actually reviews our policies and procedure, constantly reviewing it. And whenever there's an update, they do, update us about it.
Okay, brilliant. If there are, let's say, changes that need to happen across the company? Or let's say it's with carers specifically. Would there be a training that happens? And then because we've got 5 branches, what do the logistics of that look like?
We have trainers.
It depends.
We have trainers. We have us.
It depends on the type of training that it should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's just an update on an online training that doesn't need physical appearance, then the managers cascade it. The managers get trained, and then they pass it on to the carers. We have a trainer as well that does training. That's all they do. We have a training center. We also, yes, and then if it needs a face-to-face training or a practical one, then the managers work on how to pass it on to the carers as well. We work with nurses, we work with social workers, OT, physiotherapists, people that also do, provide specialized skills like percutaneous endoscopic gastrostomy, or stoma nurses.
Yep.
You work with different departments in the healthcare sector. Like Nick said, we're never shy of saying we need an update on this. We need the new guidelines on that. Can we have training so that we can support our carers to deliver this better? So yeah, it's an ongoing thing.
How does I guess the process of working with other specialists work? Do we work with the NHS? Do we find independent specialists? What does that look like?
We work with the NHS, you usually said. We work most of the time, we would prefer to work with the departments at the NHS that are actually probably transferring the care to us. Or we're giving that care to that person initially. We acquire whatever knowledge that they've been, that they have used to, deliver the care to that person and get trained on it. And so that there's continuity in what we're doing.
Okay. Ella, do you have any specific connections with the NHS within your role?
Yeah, we do. In terms of training, obviously, we have our mandatory training rolled out, but I would say as a company, we are always looking to upskill them carers all the time. We're always pushing for different kind of qualifications and stuff to kind of gain that experience in the field. So for us, like Meg said, we are always dealing with loads of different professionals, whether it's the NHS, whether it's ABBOT nurses, district nurses, just to ensure that our carers are being able to deliver care at a high quality level. So where we are working with the NHS in kind of the Bedford branch, there are also so many other professionals that we do have a contact with that we are utilising daily or weekly to ensure that we can get the carers up to a good high standard of care.
Okay, let's dial it back and make it just a little more relaxed. So, quick question. What would you say is your superpower within your role? Who wants to go first?
Nick?
I think having a plan and keeping the calm. We've got this. It's fine. This is what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. And I don't like to be at work and it be doom and gloom either. I like to smile. I like to be quite positive, and I like to have a laugh as well. There's only one life, isn't there? And we spend hours looking after other people. So I want people to come to work and be happy. And I like a little bit of banter, Yeah.
I love a bit of banter.
Yeah.
Just relaxed office vibe, everyone connecting as well, but then still being productive and doing our job.
Absolutely. I feel that people are more productive if they're not coming into a very structured, don't get me wrong, we all still need to get work done by the end of the day, but I think that if you come in and I had a real good laugh at work today, you're more likely to come back into work and be proactive, because it's not all doom and gloom.
You know, when I look at the structure of Mega today, we have people that have been with us for 10, 7, 5, 6, and we just settled and we love the job. And I think even though it can be very, very hard, it can be difficult, but we love it. And I think we tend to draw people in that are positive and visual. I've found out that most of the people that have been with us for so long are positive-minded people.
Yeah.
Can-do people. And people who just genuinely want to break the ice, just wants to look after people, don't see anything impossible. And I think that's where my strength is personally. I like to work with people who are empathetic and love to care for people. If anyone works with us and leaves after a year or two, I'm not saying that they're all not good people, but I think the atmosphere that we have, or the type of orientation that we have, is a positive one, and coming with a negative mindset could easily displace something that isn't right in the way that we do. So yeah, I think it's the positivity, the dedication and the mindset of supporting people no matter what.
I'm with you, because it definitely takes that, because people are vulnerable and people are worried, family members are worried for their loved ones. So it takes a team that is dedicated and puts their heart and soul into it. Ella, what would you say is your superpower?
I think mine is probably problem solving. I think especially in my position, you are that person that kind of is trying to solve all of the emergencies that come through. So you need to be one step ahead and know how you're going to solve that problem that could potentially come through. It could be anything. It could be something in the field. It could be with staff. It could be staff's family. But they are bringing their problems to you, and they want to kind of have an answer from you there and then. And if you don't know how to problem solve, you won't see a positive team. And just going off the kind of what Meg and Nick said, if you have that positive environment at work and in the office, people are willing to come in even when they've got like a bit of a cough or a cold, or if things are so bad at home, they're always wanting to come in and do their best at work. Whereas if you have that kind of negative environment, the first point of call where they've got a little bit of a cold or they just don't want to come into work, it's calling up and it's not turning up. So I think where we've built such a positive team, it really pays off with everyone that is involved in the business, I think.
I think that goes up, doesn't it? That goes up to even as managers, you know, we've also got our own lives and we've also got our own personal lives and things going on. But I can categorically say that I feel supported by my directors, my CEO. So it's, you know, we've all got lives, so we need to be emotionally available for the staff having their own lives, you know, clients, family members, or even, you know, nurses popping in that day. We need to be aware that people are human.
Yeah. I mean, you know, people, to coming to, you know, look after people, to being in this sector, I mean, we, like Nick said, we all do have our own issues, but being able to put your own issue aside, your own problems aside, and problem solve other people's problems, I mean, is a skill. It's a life skill. It is a life skill, and it's not for everybody. So I'm just glad that we're able to, you know, attract the right people.
So having put heart and soul into service users family, awards have been won. What does the award scope even look like? How well, let's say this, what does it mean to you as a woman who has put her heart and soul into her work, into her team, into just a family run business and a homely business and company, what does it mean to you for women to be recognized for just putting in? What does it mean to you?
It's incredible. It's incredible. It makes me so proud. And I know it makes Meg proud, which is brilliant, because, you know, we're all very aware that from day one, Meg put her heart and soul into absolutely everything. So it shows that we are putting 100% in as well when these awards do come in. And, you know, it's the staff in the field that are working, and it's nice to see that they feel the recognition from it as well. So it's a full circle again, and it can't just work in one area, it has to work all the way around.
I mean, the Home Care Award was a national one, which is brilliant. It's brilliant.
And that's a day. That's wonderful. That was, we were all so proud.
I was going to say, do you feel a shift with carers, with staff in the office? Do you feel a shift of, we've achieved this together?
Yeah,
Exactly. And
yeah, absolutely.
it's a mental thing as well. You know, it's something that, okay, it goes back at the back of your mind, you know, I got this award now. So now what next? So we've got to make sure that we don't fall short of this, the award that we just got. We have to keep up the standard, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it as well is as a care manager, and I've worked for the company, and I'm always going to work for the company. It is a case of we have that mindset of there isn't anybody we can't look after, and that has been passed down from my directors. And it's not a case of there isn't anybody we can't look after, now go on and deal with it. That support is there. If we need to implement training, it's offered. If I need some emotional support, it's there. You know, if it's difficult, you know, so in terms of awards, where we're going next, it's for sure, isn't it?
We hardly hand back anybody. I mean, whereas we found some companies handing back people because they're difficult or their family is difficult to handle, we stick on it, don't we? We stick to it, and we do what we can to make sure that we keep the person out of the list.
Yeah, there's always a reason that we have challenges, and in 9 times out of 10, it's finding those challenges and being able to support that person, being able to support the staff. You know, not everybody's going to get on with everybody. We know that, and if it's a case of moving things around, or, you know, just saying to a family member or a client, or you know, even the teams that we work with outside of it, just give me a call. Some people just need to sound off for 5 minutes, and that's really important to remember, is that we don't know what's going on with them. So actually just making yourself vulnerable in terms of, like, we've all got stuff going on, but what we really need to do is to be able to help you feel safe, and to be able to think that you can speak to us, because that's what we're here for. So yeah, 9 times out of 10, there is always a very good reason as to why there is challenges. But the answer isn't saying, okay, well, we can't look after you no more. That's never the answer.
In terms of, let's say, predominantly female characteristics, what role or even characteristics themselves do you think women play in the field of care? What strengths do you think that we bring to the table?
I think male and female alike do have this different kind of strength. And I'm not going to say that it's natural for a woman to care, but it's almost nature for a woman to care, because of biologically, we produce what needs to be cared for, which is a baby. I'm not saying that our services are babies, but what I'm saying is that the nature is in a woman to care. It's also natural for a man to care, which brings us to the balance. Which means that we find a lot of women are in care. A lot of women, the ratio would be like 70 to 30. I don't know, I haven't done the research. But from what we see within the company, that's quite there's quite a good amount of, a number of women that do care. And so yeah, I think that is it's very outstanding that there is more women in care than men.
I definitely agree with you in terms of men and women playing different roles. Something I learned being in the company is how men provide, let's say, strength. They bring the brawn, they bring the ability to lift, though women do the same, also assisting with lifting. But yeah, I think that's something that I learned and gauged, was like, okay, that's very interesting to see how the different genders can really play different strengths, and even it mixes and matches and just essentially comes together. It works together.
Yeah, I do think in the last year or 2 years, we have kind of started to see a more increase of men being in the field, which is obviously lovely to see. But with the girls in the field, that people do request females because it's easier for them. They prefer the female to come in and do kind of personal care and stuff like that. But actually, some of the males are some of the best as well. Amazing. So you can't always define women as to be more kind of natural at care, because the men are on the upcoming and they are ready to get out in the field and deliver that hands-on care.
I do think it is a really nice balance now. When I first started care, it was predominantly female staff, but yeah, now the last couple of years, the males are taking over. We love them. We absolutely do. And like I say, we're extremely lucky in terms of the staff that we do have do it because they want to do it, and they thrive, and nothing is too much trouble. A lot of our staff are, more training, teach me more. They're happy to be upskilled. They're happy to be put on extra training, which is great. It's showing your commitment for sure.
What advice would you give to someone who's looking into working in care?
Don't be afraid to submerge yourself into somebody's world. Take in what's going on around you, take notice of their home and their settings and what they like and what they don't like, because it is so important. People's preferences and choices is so important. And with somebody with dementia, don't be afraid to step into their world. It doesn't have to, things don't necessarily have to be wrong what they're saying. It's probably a way that they're trying to communicate with you. So don't be afraid to put your carer hat on and go in and be that person that they want you to be that day.
Brilliant. We've recently moved into young people's care, children's care. I'd like to ask about the challenges. What challenges or new challenges has that brought in?
I would say that it's a new area for us. I wouldn't be talking about the challenges, but I would be talking about the prospects or how it should impact in the care that we give in to the over 18s, because we were only registered for the 18s and over, 18 to 65 and 65 and over. But we looked into children's care from 13 to 17, mainly because it's, right now, a lot of people, once they leave the children's care, it's a case of an abrupt stop in the care that they get from their previous company. And it's all new people, new faces, new everything. And for younger adults that with an issue already, with health issues already, it's just too much to handle that change. So if we get into the 13 to 17, we would have gone into their life before the time become full adults, and then it would be a smoother transition. And that's what we're looking forward to provide a service that would support younger people to transition into adulthood without that sharp end to the previous and a new start that they don't even know.
Yeah.
You know about.
Is there anything you're excited about in terms of children's care?
I think, like Meg said, it's nice to see that eventually they will get that smooth transition from children's care to adult care. Over the last year, we have seen kind of 18-year-olds coming into our service, and they do find it very, very difficult because a lot of the time before that, they are only dealing with family, and the family take a lot of the responsibility. So then when they get to kind of 18 years old, they then have to kind of rely on a provider, and they've done it for all them years before. It is kind of a bit difficult for the families more than anything.
Yeah.
So having that smoother transition in place will be much more beneficial for both the client and for the new provider that is going to be delivering the care, because they will know that client before it gets to that stage.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you have any thoughts, Nick?
I think that we've seen the benefits when before we started with young persons, but when we realised that there was that need for the service to be put in place, because we have started with clients that have just turned 18. So we can see how the resources that they weren't shown, or how they've basically had to manage with, it's a different world when they transition over into 18 than from when they were 17. So we've seen that need, and we've seen that how beneficial it would be. So I think it is all very new, but we can see how proactive it can be.
Something we have joked about is that we will soon be tapping into the nursing part of Mega Nursing and Care. What does that mean? How are we tapping into nursing?
Well, we were initially registered as a nurse, and then we had to step down because we weren't providing the nursing service at that point, and then we concentrated on the personal care up till now. It's called, the TDDI is called the Treatment of Diseases, Disorders and Injuries, which opens us up to the being able to care for people even better at home without the restrictions of not being a nursing service. We obviously have a nursing oversight, which is me, and we are hoping to employ nurses and nursing associates for every location to oversee that aspect. Currently, we do quite a few nursing roles or skills already, helping people out, supporting people with peg feeding, stomach care, tracheostomy, all, overseen by me. But then the registration now gives us the opportunity to now do it across all the sites that we have, and being assured that we're able to work with this complex needs within the framework in a much more governed way.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts around it?
Upskilling. It's empowering for the staff. It's settling for the clients. At the moment, we work with a lot of nurses in the field who are amazing. We work alongside Marie Curie district nurses, Abbott nurses, and we go to them for a lot of support. We see how under pressure they all are as well, and how busy they all are. So it is really settling to know that we can upskill and keep that with us, that we're not having to call out for other people to support us. Not with everything, that's not the case. It's not with everything, but it just means that our staff can manage more things.
A scenario would be a carer going into a service user's home and probably has a sacral wound, and the sacral wound it's been soiled and needs to come off. And on a weekend, there's no district nurses around, but we can now at least apply a dressing that's already been prescribed for them. Apply the dressing while the district nurse, have their weekend off, and then come on Monday to reassess the wound. Just start bridging that gap. We wouldn't be taking over from district nurses. We're not taking over from anybody else. We just couldn't be. It's just being able to synchronize that care and making sure that there's continuity.
So I guess
in the
it's
service,
closing the gap.
That's what it is.
Ella, how do you think that will better impact your role?
It will make it easier for sure. One less phone call. But I know, I think it's good. Like we've always said, the more skilled carers we have, the better. Meg says people will get their weekends off, and we will kind of bridge that gap. We saw the gap being bridged from with medication. So we've now got 2 very good medication ladies in place that solely just sort out medication. So we've bridged that gap before. So now bridging another gap, it's overall just good. It's beneficial for both us and those that are out in the field, nurses and stuff. So yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, I guess just in closing, let's do some rapid fire questions. So Ella, where is your dream destination for holiday?
Probably Japan.
Why Japan?
They're ahead of us, and it's always nice to see. But honestly, I'd go anywhere in the world. I'm happy to relocate. Take me. You can have me.
Relocate, stay with Megacare. Best of both worlds.
That would be the dream.
Nicola, is there a favorite animal that you have?
Oh, well, I already have cats and dogs, so I think I'll stay with that.
Stick with the cat. Not a hamster. Okay. And Meg, let's see, what can I ask you? If you could go back in time and change one thing, what would it be?
How do I not sound vindictive?
Oh my goodness.
I was about to say, you sure you're asking that question?
Well, I once had a manager, and I would never hire him. If I could bring it back, he would never give up at least. Yeah, I had that time then with him. But hey, happens. That's life. Life happens. But yeah. But generally, I mean, where I am at the moment, I would say I'm blessed. Yeah, I'm blessed. With all the stuff that I've got, I'm blessed.
Because here's also something I've learned is just a long life. Everything you go through, it all just comes together. Because now knowing that this is the kind of person I want in my company, because now you can look back at your staff and say, I'm proud of everyone that we have on our team, because I know what it looks like to not have a good manager. So we're going to take that as an example and build an amazing company with amazing people who are dedicated and want to be there and want to serve. Brilliant. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for joining me today. To our viewers and listeners, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, please give it a big thumbs up. Share it with a friend, because friends are friends and they need a podcast to be shared, okay? And this is it. If we don't see in the comments, we'll see you at the next. Remember that this is the Care & Co podcast, where we bring the important conversations in the healthcare industry to the forefront. See you next time.